And it was sort of like the proof is in the pudding. You got 10 of these people, they're willing to pay $15,000 to $45,000 a month. But behind that, we were getting huge pushback out of probably 9 out of every 10.
Was getting stuck on with them is the pricing. And pricing is part of positioning. If you want to be premium, you can't have low price, right? Like it's part of the proposition.
And they're like, you charge $2 million for an ERP rollout. And you're like, so what did that get me? Like I paid you $2 million and you have a team of 8 engineers on it. From day to day, you charged me 40 hours this week. What did you do? And so many of them couldn't justify it. They were just like, you paid it.
This is very common for non-marketers to ask poor pricing questions.
The moment you try to gamify the pricing, as sure as death and taxes, your customers will play the game or engineer the game so they get the best value for the least amount of money.
Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Push Podcast. My name's Jack Ferguson, an experienced brand strategist with a science background. I've worked in marketing for 15 years, have held numerous internal senior roles spanning national and international brands, and now I work as a consultant. In my career, I've worked across 25 industries and helped increase client and employer revenue by over $40 million. I will be your host. This season of the podcast is essential listening for marketers looking to better sell their strategies to stakeholders. I'll host senior marketers who will share stories, analogies, and mental models that help explain complex concepts to non-marketers, get client buy-in, and keep internal teams engaged. Whether you're in-house, agency side, or a consultant, I aim to equip senior marketers like you with tools to speak up, lead with confidence, and persuade others of your strategy's effectiveness. Thanks for being here, and don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 23 of the podcast. In this episode, Alex Urquhart and I debate pricing. I'll take the position that you should sell products or services for as high as you can. Alex will take the counter position, arguing this approach causes more problems than it's worth. I share stories of times I've witnessed companies pricing too low. Alex shares stories of times when companies have priced too high. We also cover the relationship between pricing and sustainable growth, why some customers pay more and why it matters, stories of customers gamifying pricing models leading to deeper issues, the impact pricing has on customer experiences and perceptions with stories, the warning signs you're pricing yourself out of the market, the impact of high pricing on customer expectations, why complicated pricing could be costing you business, and much more. Decide for yourself who makes a stronger case as we have a fun, spirited debate. If you're unfamiliar with Alex Urquhart, he is my co-host on this episode and a senior product marketer. If you want to find myself or Alex online, you can find links to our online presence in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening on. Let's get started.
Cool. So for this week, Jack and I got in a bit of a heated debate the other day, and we thought, let's not argue. Let's save for that for the camera, and we'll argue on the podcast. So we had one the other day about, I was telling him a story about how someone I used to work with who was a large enterprise client for software, and they are sort of under the impression that let's try and price the product or price as high as they possibly can go. This is a B2B SaaS company, so high as they can possibly go, and I disagreed with that because I saw so many things go wrong. Jack disagreed, and he said you should gouge everyone for as much as you can possibly get.
Yes,
that was his brand.
Every single transaction, get their bank account nice and empty, and get yours nice and full. That's my approach. Yeah,
Jack embezzlement. So yeah.
But yes, I'm going to be arguing the affirmative for selling as high as you can.
Yep.
The highest price possible.
Yep.
And Alex is going to argue with me and say that I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to say, don't do that.
I want to hear your argument first. Why should
that's dirty. That is dirty.
Price as high as we can.
Oh, okay. See, all right. Well, everyone should know that we actually discussed prior, and Alex was meant to go first. So, okay. We're fighting dirty. Okay. No, I'm going to go. So, why price as high as you can? In general, the unit economics are better and it's more profitable. If you are serving less people for a higher amount of money, you get more money in per transaction or per customer typically. The only way to send money straight to the bottom line is to increase your prices because that's just more margin that goes straight to the bottom line. Your costs don't necessarily change when you increase your prices. They shouldn't. There's no real reason for them to. And the other thing is, in my experience, typically someone who's willing to pay you more money values you more. So then if we look at the secondary and tertiary effects of that, you are selling to more profitable customers, you get more money in for the same cost, but you also have those effects where that person is more likely then to refer you if they really value what you do. So you're kind of attracting the right people to do business with you, and then from there they hopefully go and refer you to other people like them. So those are my opening arguments. The only way to send money straight to the bottom line is to increase price. Unit economics are usually better, and you tend to get a better, like a more suited clientele if you're selling as high as you can. So I generally will tell people or businesses, generally in B2B, again, keep raising your prices until it breaks if you have the means to do that. And you can do that with tests and experiments and various things like that. So opening argument, there you go, Alex.
Okay. All right. I feel like saying thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll take the
That's
stand.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I think I guess my one is, and probably not too dissimilar, but for the sake of a good podcast, I'll definitely disagree. But I think pricing high, yep. But I think the idea, and I probably better to frame with the story, was that with that same company, so the background was they were selling probably anywhere between $15,000 to $40,000 subscription per month cost, which is huge. Even for the larger companies, that's massive. And the problem was, apart from other things, but it was a very complex process. It was these large enterprise organizations, and it was a big lifting cost and all this stuff to go through it all. But you're looking at $45,000 a month. Like, I can't think of another software that's even that high. And the problem was, and I think this happens when it comes to like confirmation bias, is that these companies come in and they can sell for, they sold for about maybe 10 companies. Their market was maybe 3,000 in Australia. So 10 companies, and it was sort of like the proof is in the pudding. You got 10 of these people, they're willing to pay for $15,000 to $45,000 a month. But behind that, we were getting huge pushback out of probably 9 out of every 10. And there was people saying like, they had the product fit. Like you demo to them, they'd be like, "This is amazing. This is perfect. This fits everything we want. Like, where have you been our whole lives?" And you're like, "This is great." And then the pricing was also very subjective. So it was like, we have to scope it. We have to do this, and it became so muddled and so high price. And we're like, "Hey, you're probably looking at starting at $15,000 a month." And time and time again, they were like, "Ooh, that's too much." So in terms of what you're saying before, you are right. You should go as high as you possibly can. But it's just, to me, it's the economic 101, right? It's supply and demand. So you need to look at, if you can sell 4 out of every 10, for argument's sake, at a high price, then do that. Like, forego the 6, do the high price. As you said, there's less work, less effort. If they're getting the value for the price, happy days. But it's so subjective too. So like, there's so many factors, and this is what I get frustrated sometimes when we talk with teams about like how their pricing structure looks, and they go, "Oh, they get this much value, we're saving them $10,000 a month, so we'll price it for $1,000 a month." It's like, well, that's one factor. But with this company and later on we spoke to these same people over time, and we sort of floated the idea of like, "Hey, how about instead we cut to the point," and we said, "You don't get all this fancy smancy stuff. You get $5,000 a month," which is still pretty good. $5,000 a month, you have to sign for 3 years, and it's a simple process. And then that way, because that was predictable, we could engineer the process behind them much faster, much easier, much simpler, and way more direct. I think higher pricing, whilst good and does weed out some time wasters, they can sometimes have this heightened level of expectation. And they're like, "Oh, I'm paying for a Rolls Royce. I want a Rolls Royce service. I'm going to call you every 10 minutes when I have a question. I'm going to debate every bug that's in the system. If I don't see extreme value in 3 months, you're dead to me." And I've had both of those things as well.
Interesting. Then I would ask with that though, do you think that happens at a higher rate with those higher priced items? Because in my experience, it's more likely to happen with the lower price stuff. Like, if I think something's underpriced and then a customer will buy it, in my experience, they're more likely to complain and be a pain in the ass.
If it's underpriced?
Yes.
I mean, customers can complain underwater. Like, they're pretty good at complaining full stop. Yeah. Like, yeah, I see what you mean there. Like, I think, yeah, they can debate back. I think you have more, in my opinion, you've got more ground to stand on. Like, I think my thing is, and I think I use the analogy for that last one of like, it's like pricing a steak, depending how hungry you are. And someone might pay $150 because they're starving and they desperately want a steak. Other people might be peckish and wouldn't pay you $5 for it. And that just makes so many more stresses for your financial model. And to that point there, for that $5 steak, for someone who's peckish, would probably complain, as opposed to the $150 guy who really wants it would just say. So I think they're probably two different things in my head. Bigger prices, more expectation. But to your point, if you have bigger prices, more expectation, and you're selective, the third parties with your clients, and you say, like, I'm only going to work with people who see that as value and long-term, then yes, that does work. Because I know many people, consultants especially, who go, I don't want to work with 10 people. I want to work with 3 at a higher price who respect my work, who appreciate it, get value from it. To your point, smaller prices let in the floodgates for time wasters. My only thing is that I like to stand by what it is, like the whole steak analogy. You get the steak for $40, that's it. And if they argue, it's there. It's black and white. This is what you get for this price. And I know when it comes to these large enterprises, like I know SAP, the big, they were under fire because they started going through and auditing, like they do $1 million rollouts. And people like Accenture, like those big consultant companies, and they're like, you charge $2 million for an ERP rollout. And you're like, so what did that get me? Like I paid you $2 million and you have a team of 8 engineers on it. From day to day, you charged me 40 hours this week. What did you do? And so many of them couldn't justify it. They were just like, you paid it. Like, I can get $2 million for this. Yeah. I'm going to charge you $2 million. There's probably only $100K worth of work in it. Yeah. But screw it. You're a large mining conglomerate. I'm going to take you for a ride, which has trickle-on effects. But anyway, I think it's a supply and demand, right? So another story is a company I work with that sold into non-profits. I've spoken about this before, volunteer management app. And when they originally started, they didn't have a lot of market feedback. And it was like, we want to price this for $1,000 a month. And it was like, cool. They went in there and they got 2 or 3 clients who agreed to it. And so they sort of went, well, they paid it. See, there's the evidence. From now on, it's $1,000 a month. And then again, you peeled and it was probably 1 in 30 that were converting or more. And that was over months and months of time. And then we realized, in Australia at least, the non-profit market is like 80% of them are considered small to extra small. They got a max of $200-300 in the bank. And so it was like they were buying up things like Canva, Calendly, HubSpot, things are under $40 a month really quickly. And there were these people come and go, they're quite transient. I was like, well, wouldn't it make more sense? We adapt the model, we adapt the price to lower price but lower effort. They don't get hands-on experience, they don't get full training, they don't get rollouts or anything like that. You pay with your credit card and then here's the ticket and you go. And we did that and we changed our whole approach from sales-led growth to product-led growth. And I think it was down to $29 a month, and it was substantially better. It got to the point where we had our whole process down that we were converting 1 in 4, and it was no sales effort on either, because people were like, $29 a month, I can pay for that right now. And they'd do it, and then we'd adopt them, and then, they just pay for ongoing from there. So I think lowering that expectation and it meeting your market, that worked really well.
Yes, that is a very difficult story to argue with, actually, unfortunately. So thank you for bringing that up, because I do agree with that. That was the right decision.
Yeah. But again, it's probably the point, and like all these sort of arguments, right? Like this is for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
But the usual answer for all this crap is always, it depends. Yeah. And it depends on what the market is.
Yeah.
Because in saying that as well, I've worked with companies that they charge $100 a month, $150 a month, and they're working with literally billion-dollar companies, and they're giving huge amounts of value to them as well. And I'm like, you could be charging 4 times more than what you're charging now, and there would not be hesitation. So to that side, I would look to you and go like, yeah, you're right. And also, like my 3 things I always look at for pricing are, I usually find, what are they already anchored to? So for example, if you're like, oh, this new emailing system, it saves them $5,000 a month, therefore I'm going to price it for $500 a month, that's a 10x return. Sounds good on paper. The reality is, like I said before, if you look at things like Miro, Calendly, all these ones, that's they're all under $20 a month. And if they're price anchored in their head of like, look at these fantastic products I can get for $20, why would I pay $500? What do I get? And that's not saying you can't, but you need to be able to justify that and go, well, what am I getting? I'm not getting over here. So I think price anchoring is and your market of what you're used to. Like if you're selling to marketing freelancers, you're going to charge about $1,000 a month. You need to front up with crap loads of value and really show them and really help them. And the other one was your costs. Like if each one of your clients takes you 2 hours a month to sustain, say you're priced at $200 a month, $200 an hour, hopefully to keep your margins right, you've got to be looking at $400 or $500 a month just to keep them going. And then the other one, was the whole value thing of like, yeah, if I can save you $10,000 a month, then if I charge you $1,000, that's pretty good value. So it's almost like ceiling, floor, somewhere in between. Like what are they anchored on? What's the lowest you can charge that you're not going to go broke? And what's the highest you can charge in terms of what's possible? And somewhere I think in that zone, there's the right price.
Yes. That reminds me of the pricing questions I like to tell people to ask, because I was working with a retail brand earlier in the year. They were selling bike lights. Cool company, but one of the part that I was getting stuck on with them is the pricing. And pricing is part of positioning. If you want to be premium, you can't have low price, right? Like it's part of the proposition that you put to the market. But in this case, and this is very common, right? This is very common for non-marketers to ask poor pricing questions. And what I could see, they had data on pricing, which was nice. That's better than some. But they also were asking, the question that they asked was to their customers, is this price fair? Do you believe this price is fair? If you ask questions like that, you get a yes or a no. That's not going to help you if you're selling something for, say, $200. That doesn't help you really get up to a 250. You got to make sure that you're asking questions that actually get you to that highest price. And I've had a bit of a thought while we've been speaking. And when I say selling as high as you can, it's within the realm of kind of your model. So you're talking about the SaaS product before $29 a month. Like, I'm still saying, but if that should be 39 or 49, you want to get to there, right? But yes, like there's a range of where you should be playing as opposed to, the $5,000 a month or whatever it was, or $1,000. How much was it?
Was $1,000 back down to $29.
Yeah, right.
Which is a huge leap. And sorry, to that exact point, $1,000 to $29 a month. Now, arguably, what's that? 3 times 10. So it's 30 of those customers I have to get for one of them. Yeah. And then that was the argument internally. It was like, this is ridiculous. We have to work 30 times harder to get this one person. But then the holistic view, and we zoomed out, I was like, one, longevity. The goal isn't to get the next 5 customers or the next 5. We want to get to 1 million. So what's going to get us there? Number 2 was the expectations. So if we kept on that same model, we'd have to hire someone like every couple of months to keep up with the servicing. And the other one was like, well, can't do that. So it's like, how do we have a scalable product-led growth model that's not going to hit us there? So if we do get to that point, and the irony was the margins on the $29 was better than the $1,000 ones.
Well, I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
But is that because of labor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because it was like highly customizable, just an absolute monstrous amounts of training. Okay. Which also, this is not part of this podcast, but don't ever offer... Be careful how much training you offer, because people will just take the piss. They just, I'm talking over a dozen or so companies, different industries, different types of users. If you're like, I've heard the mistake where I met a couple of them who've said, oh, go with us. Our differentiator is we give you unlimited support. And if you want to be punched in the face by a CS person, that's the fastest way to do it. Because when you say unlimited, they will message you on a Sunday morning and ask for a call, and they will make you like their assistant. Just don't do that. You've got to, which then forces people back to the product to go, well, if your product's good and it's delivering the purpose, you've got to fix that first. But back to the pricing point, I think earlier on, I'm of the opinion I like to keep it as simple as possible. So it's exact same with your whole marketing as well. Like you look at those like HubSpot, when they have like small pack, and then it's like you can divert into like a marketing pack versus a sales pack versus a support pack, and then each of those you can unlock this feature for $29, and like they can do that because they're so mature and they're so advanced, and they've probably got a whole team that manages the pricing. But in the early days, like time and time again, it's usually the simple metric that cannot be debated, which is usually user seats. One person gets access or not. The moment you try to gamify the pricing, I could, as sure as death and taxes, your customers will play the game or engineer the game so they get the best value for the least amount of money. And I've seen that. And for that case was that same product was like, to give you some backstory to it, it was volunteer managers, and we realized there was 3 main metrics: how many volunteers they had, how active they were in, like how many times they do it, and the frequency of what they did. So for example, one organization had 1,000 volunteers that were hyperactive for 3 weeks of the year. We had another organization that had 5 volunteers that were active twice a day. And it was like, how do you price those ones? Like it's almost, and that comes back down, okay, what's my user? And are they different types of users? Then we shouldn't sort of work with them. And so there was one, they were like, oh, how about we price per volunteer in the system? And then, of course, people started deleting their volunteers because they're like, oh, no, we don't want that. And then they're like, our system's not working. I was like, because you're deleting the users. So whatever metric you have or North Star, they will do it. And the same one for that other engineering drawing company. We had one where it was in tiers. So you pay this much on this tier. If you get to this many drawings, it's this many. And the idea was the more drawings you had in, say, a mining company, the bigger the mining company was, the more assets you had, the more it made sense to manage those assets. But then we worked with this hospital, and this guy came in and he was like having issues, and his engineers having issues. And it turns out he was on the precipice of the next tier, but was going through the system and deleting stuff. And it was like critical data. And we're like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, if I go to the next tier, I have to pay another $3,000 a month or $2,000 a month. And he goes, I've run out of budget. And I said, well, call us. And anyway, It's just like, so people, where if you said to them, hey, like, you want to use this system, it's $5,000.
Yeah.
Full stop. It stops all that crap. It just lets them use it. And so I'm ranting. But there's another one with, what's his name? Salesforce is looking at it now because they said with AI, there's less need for users in the system because they price per user. And they're like, well, if you're doing automated workflows or you're doing like automated follow-ups, then technically you really need like one salesperson, like an engineer. There's less users. So they're saying like their argument was the more they invested into automating Salesforce, the less need for users there would be. So therefore they're spending money to grow this thing. Clients are getting more value out of it, technically, but they would be paying less. So they're changing their pricing model to be more focused on like how many qualified deals do you have in your pipeline on Salesforce? How many have you converted or stuff like that? I get why they're doing that because, yeah, you're right. If you need a system that takes 10 users and all of a sudden you automate it, you only need 3, then you're paying much less. But then when they did that way, I was like, you watch this. If you charge Salesforce on how many deals you had in the pipeline, you watch them delete the sales out of the pipeline.
The deal,
and they'll open up a spreadsheet and manage it out of the system. Like, people suck, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I'll engineer something so I can get the least price. You know what I mean? Like, I think people always figure out a way to go around the price in the early days, keeping it as simple as possible, and even having blanket ones of like, you want to use this product, it's like $400 a year, whatever it is, full stop. Just call it. It's $400 a year. There's no argument. And then over time, once you do get data and you do see what the patterns are, you can change the pricing model.
Yes.
But
be careful what you incentivize, right? Like that's effectively, a good way of thinking about it. I do want to tell another story though, because I'm really trying to find out a good way to segue into it, and it's not going well in my mind.
Just do a right turn.
Because I'm so keen to tell it. But I'm like, oh, how can I work this in? I can't. All right, so forgive me, listeners. I'm just going to go bang. It's not even turning the chapter in the book. It's basically picking up a new book. But I was going to say that one really interesting experiment I've seen is Josh Bell, who was a world-trained classical violinist, incredible player who plays in theaters and sells out, $150 tickets and all this thing per person to come and see him play. He did, I think it was 2007 in Washington, D.C. on the subway there. He went in there and he busked. So he took someone who was world-class, like a musician, they put him in the subway and saw how much money he could earn there. $52.17 he made, and $20 of that was from someone who recognised him. So if you take someone out of that context and put them into a different context, they can make a lot less money. So the way I look at that is, okay, so he charges, let's say, $150 per ticket per night to see him play at a theatre. That's where you should take your business, right? So think about whether maybe you're the busker in the subway or whether you're the performer on stage.
It's the same product in a different wrapper.
Yeah, exactly the same person, exactly the same skill. The interesting thing there too is because he had over 1,000 people walk past him and only 7 stopped. And only one person recognised him that they're aware of. So you also probably have a crowd there that don't necessarily appreciate it. Also, there's context of like you just might not want to listen to that. It's not what you're going to trying to get to work and stuff. You're not there to see a concert. But I think that's something to think about too, is if you are the person who's in the subway. So an analogy for marketers when they're talking to other people is, are we in the subway and all these people are just walking past who aren't looking for that right now and don't value it? Or are we on stage selling tickets for as high a price we can with people who value us, who come in and want what we offer and appreciate the value we can bring, and it's profitable.
And that's right. And this is where like it is the wrapper, and there's like just what you said. Then there's probably 50 things that are the difference between there and there. Like you said, like where the customer is at the time or where the market is at the time. Are they sitting there? Because if you pay for a $200 ticket, you're probably going to get dressed up, go for drinks. So you're sort of paying for an entire experience as opposed to just his music. And I think this is where I get very bullish in terms of like how important it is for the executives from the top down to be involved with a lot of the marketing, because in that there you could use the analogy of like, old mate on the subway hires a marketer to help him improve his price, and then they get focused on changing what's on his sign. You know what I mean? Or like change his shirt so it looks a bit better. It's like, it's not just these individual elements. It's the entire experience that he's gone from, busker there and all the connotations that go behind that. It's the same way I used to know this other one, and she still is a fantastic marketer, and she was charging, I think, across the board, I'd probably say a third, if not probably a third of the price of most consultants. And she's very good at what she did. But again, because to your point, she was pricing so low, people sort of running around a bit, and was also like, oh, well, you're charging that much. Well, I would like a bigger project because I can afford a bigger project. And her expectations were more. So I was like, oh, I want like you to write 5 articles and do all these things. And it was like, Jesus, it's a lot. Thankfully, she had a really good client, was like, you should increase your prices. You should do more. And she did, and the bad ones left and the good ones stayed. Yeah, it definitely comes down to whole experience too. Because at that point, like if you've ever been to Disney World, Disneyland, or any of those ones before, you see those ones, when you go to the park and you get a glass of soft drink and it's like in a Mickey Mouse cup and it's $32 and everyone's buying it. And you're like, that's it's just this insane amount of money. It's got like a 50-cent lanyard on it, and it's like hugely priced. But again, they're paying for that experience. Like it's all it's not worth that at all.
And they got a captive audience as well. That's like being at the cricket or the footy when you go get a beer and it's like $20, thank you, my friend, for a beer. Yeah. Where else are you going to go, mate? Where else are you going to go? What are you going to do? You don't want it?
Which is where I think it's sometimes hard, especially for marketers, when you're in the trenches and you're trying to get the next things done in zooming out, which again, if you zoom out, that should be the executive or whoever, a consultant, someone to come in and see the big picture, to be like, actually, if you framed yourself as something different here, or you provided them with, like, it wasn't just, hey, we do this little bit of software for you. It's like, hey, we change this part of whatever the process is. I think you can offer more because you're paying for the experience. And I think you always say too, it's like when someone reaches out to you, they're not talking to Jack the marketer or Simon the sales guy. They're talking to the brand. They only see one entity. And I think how they see that is just internally, we have over on all the politics and we're too close to the problem. To go like, oh, increase prices. Then of course the question is, oh, what's the value of the product there? It's like, well, zoom out, stop, go back to the customer's perspective and go, what are they buying? In saying that, there is a lot of wanky bullshit that comes with that stuff. People go like, oh, they're buying transformation. Like, no, they're not. They're buying a dashboard, man.
It's a shoe.
Yeah, it's a shoe, mate. Get over yourself. Like, that's what I think. And I think I've seen the death of it, thankfully, of the whole, like, we're disrupting the shoe industry. No, you're not. You add an extra lace. Like, you're a bit more comfy than the other guy. Like, relax. So, but to the point, there is somewhere between disrupting and looking at the nuts and bolts. There is that middle ground, which you can price accordingly. But
fair. It's interesting. We didn't really end up debating and just started talking about pricing. But yes, vote who won this debate out of Alex and I in the comments. Perhaps send us a message. Tell everyone that they should listen to this episode and they can decide who won this debate. And they can say it was me. And I will appreciate that. But thank you, Alex, for chatting through that. I'll see you on the next episode.
Sounds good, mate. See you then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Push Podcast. Please remember to subscribe, and if you are enjoying the episodes, please leave a review of the podcast on your platform of choice. It really helps to build the podcast credibility and to help others find this type of information.